All right. Get ready because today we're diving deep into API process development.
Ooh, exciting.
You guys sent us a ton of fascinating articles on this topic, and I think it's going to be a really interesting deep dive.
Absolutely.
This stuff is honestly, the backbone of modern medicine.
Yeah, it really is.
We're talking the active ingredients in every drug you've ever taken.
Right, and most people don't even realize it's there.
Exactly. So for anyone who's not a pharmaceutical scientist,
Right.
could you give us the simplest explanation of what API process development even is?
Sure, so API stands for active pharmaceutical ingredient.
Okay.
And it's the part of the drug that actually, makes it work. It's the thing that does the job.
So it's not just the filler stuff, it's the actual medicine.
That's it. It's the magic ingredient. So API process development is all about figuring out how to make that ingredient in the best way possible.
Oh, okay.
The most efficient way, the safest way,
Right.
the most consistent way.
Got it. So you're taking a brilliant scientist's idea for a new drug
Yeah.
and figuring out how to actually manufacture it.
Exactly. Making it on a large scale,
Right. So it's not just
Yeah.
mixing it up in a test tube. You've got to be able to.
Right. You can't just whip it up in your kitchen. It has to be.
Right. Exactly. And consistently too, right? Every batch has to be the same.
Exactly. Scalability, that's one of the biggest challenges.
Oh, interesting. So is that why sometimes you hear about a promising new drug
Mm-hmm.
and then it kind of disappears?
Yeah.
Because they couldn't figure out how to make enough of it?
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Remember a few years ago, all of the news about that potential Alzheimer's drug?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Super promising in the early trials.
Right. Everyone was so excited.
But then they hit a wall trying to scale up production.
Mhm.
It's one thing to make it in a small lab,
Yeah.
but producing huge quantities for millions of people.
Right. That's a whole other.
Yeah, that's where it gets really tricky.
Yeah. Wow, that's kind of heartbreaking, to have this potential cure and then.
It is. It really highlights how important the science behind manufacturing is.
Absolutely. It's not just about the discovery itself. It's about making it accessible to everyone who needs it.
Exactly. And it's not just about quantity either.
Okay.
It's about precision, too. Think about it. We're talking about things that go into people's bodies.
Yeah.
So there's no room for error.
Right. You can't just be
Right. You can't just eyeball. We're talking about
Exactly.
controlling things like temperature and pH.
Oh, wow.
Even the order in which ingredients are added.
Oh, okay.
All of that matters.
So it's kind of like baking, but with much higher stakes.
Uh-huh. That's a good way to put it.
Right. You mess up a cake and it's oh, well, this cake is bad.
Yeah.
But you mess up a drug and it could have.
Exactly. To have serious consequences.
Yeah. So you got to be really careful.
Absolutely. Speaking of being careful, the articles we got mentioned CMC a lot.
Oh, yeah. CMC. What's that all about? I feel like
Yeah.
that's kind of a behind-the-scenes term.
Yeah, it stands for chemistry, manufacturing, and controls.
Okay.
And it's basically like the big quality control system for drug development.
Got it. So that's where they're checking everything, making sure everything's up to standard.
Exactly. And API development's a big part of that because that's where we really lock down the manufacturing process.
Okay.
We have to make sure it meets all the regulations and standards.
So they're the super strict inspectors making sure everything's perfect.
Exactly. Think of them as the guardians of drug quality.
I like that. The guardians of drug quality.
They make sure everything is safe and effective.
So API development is making sure the active ingredient is made right.
Yeah.
And CMC is
CMC is like the overarching system.
okay, the big umbrella, making sure the whole process is good.
Precisely.
Wow. I'm already learning so much about what goes into making the medicines we take.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. But I gotta ask, with all this complexity, what are some of the biggest challenges in API development? What keeps scientists up at night?
Well, you've got these really complex chemical reactions, often with tons of steps.
Mm-hmm.
Each one needs to be carefully controlled to get the right result.
So you can't just throw everything in a pot and hope for the best.
Uh-huh. No, it's much more precise than that.
Okay, so that's one challenge. What else?
And then you have to figure out how to do all of this on a massive scale.
Right, because you're not just making a tiny batch.
Exactly. We're talking about producing enough to potentially treat millions of people.
Wow.
And of course, you have to keep costs in mind.
Oh, right, because you want the medicine to be affordable.
Exactly. So you're trying to balance all of these factors: quality, safety, cost.
Feels like a lot to juggle.
It definitely is. One of the articles compared it to trying to scale up a recipe
Yeah.
that involves dozens of ingredients and really precise temperatures.
Like souffle or something.
Haha, something like that. It's
Yeah.
incredibly challenging.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then to make things even more complicated,
Oh, yeah.
I read that not all APIs are created equal.
That's right. There are two main types,
Okay.
small molecules and biologics.
Wait, hold on. I thought an API was an API. What's the difference between those?
That's a great question. So small molecule APIs are, as the name suggests, relatively small,
Okay.
and they're usually made through chemical synthesis. They're like the simpler Lego creations.
Okay.
Biologics, on the other hand, are much larger and more complex.
Oh, okay.
They're often derived from living organisms.
Whoa. So they're like more natural.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
Think of them as the intricate Lego castles.
Okay, I'm getting the picture.
They're much trickier to manufacture because you're not just dealing with chemical reactions.
Yeah.
You're also dealing with delicate biological processes.
So it's like a whole other level of complexity.
Exactly. It's like trying to keep a delicate flower alive while mass producing it.
Oh, wow. That's a great analogy. So I'm picturing a small molecule API as something like, I don't know, aspirin.
Exactly. That's a perfect example.
And a biologic API as,
How about insulin?
oh, right, insulin.
That's a classic biologic.
Okay, now I get it.
Yeah.
So when you're developing these processes, especially as you move towards clinical trials, what are some of the key questions that come up? Like, what are scientists really worried about?
Well, scalability is a big one.
Right, making sure you can make enough.
Yeah, can we reliably produce enough of this API to meet the demand?
Makes sense. What else?
And then there's all the quality attributes,
Okay.
things like purity, potency, and stability. These are all super important.
Right, because you want to make sure the drug is actually effective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that it stays effective over time.
Oh, the stability, right.
Exactly. And we also have to watch out for impurities.
Impurities. What does that mean?
Even tiny amounts of impurities can mess things up.
Oh, wow.
They can make the drug less effective or even dangerous.
Yikes. So how do you prevent that?
Well, identifying and minimizing those impurities is a huge part of API development.
So it's like a constant detective game, trying to find these hidden impurities.
Pretty much. And then, of course, there's cost.
Right. You have to make it affordable.
Exactly. Developing a cost-effective process is a huge priority, but you can't compromise quality or safety to do it.
It's like this delicate balancing act.
It really is.
And I imagine there's a ton of regulatory hurdles too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Every step of the process has to meet strict regulatory standards.
So it's like a maze of rules and regulations.
It can feel like that sometimes, but it's all there to ensure patient safety.
That makes sense. So you're dealing with complex chemistry, massive scale-up, quality control, cost considerations, A&D regulatory hurdles.
It's a lot, but it's all worth it.
It sounds like it, but at the end of the day, it's all about helping people.
Right. That's what drives us. It's about delivering safe and effective medicines to those who need them.
That's incredible. I have to say, I'm really impressed with the dedication and expertise that goes into this field.
It's a fascinating field, that's for sure.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground already, but I'm really curious to hear more about the breakthroughs happening in API development. Like, what are some of the most exciting things you're seeing right now?
Oh, there's so much cool stuff going on. We're really on the cutting edge of innovation.
Okay, I'm all ears. Tell me everything.
All right, so one of the biggest things is continuous manufacturing.
Continuous manufacturing. That sounds interesting.
It is. It's a completely different way of thinking about manufacturing.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So imagine instead of baking one cake at a time,
Okay.
you have this continuous stream of cake batter.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
Ingredients are added and mixed as it's moving through the system.
So instead of stopping and starting for every batch,
Right. It just keeps flowing.
it's like a cake batter river.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
I love it. So what are the advantages of this continuous cake batter method?
Well, for one, it can really cut down on manufacturing costs.
Oh, that makes sense. Less downtime, less waste.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it also allows for much tighter control over the process.
Okay, so better quality control.
You got it. Higher quality, more consistency.
That's huge, especially when we're talking about medicine.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
And here's where it gets really exciting.
Okay, hit me with it.
This continuous approach opens up possibilities for personalized medicine.
Personalized medicine. Wait, are we talking like custom-made drugs?
You're catching on.
Hmm.
Imagine medications tailored to your unique genetic profile.
Whoa. So instead of getting a generic drug, I could get one designed specifically for me.
That's the idea. Continuous manufacturing makes it much easier to produce smaller, more targeted batches.
So it's like having a 3D printer for medicine.
Haha, you got it. That's a great analogy.
That is so cool. It seems like API process development is playing a huge role in shaping the future of healthcare.
It really is. And there's another trend I wanted to mention.
Okay, what else is cooking in the world of API development?
Green chemistry.
Green chemistry. Okay, now we're talking. Is that like making drugs in an eco-friendly way?
You got it. It's all about designing chemical processes that are better for the environment.
So less waste, less pollution.
Exactly. Using less hazardous materials.
Wow, that's awesome. So it's not just about creating better medicines, it's about creating them in a way that's better for the planet, too.
Exactly. It's about sustainability.
Love it. So what are some examples of how green chemistry is being used in API development?
Well, one big area is the use of biocatalysts.
Bio what now?
Biocatalysts, they're enzymes, which are natural proteins,
Okay.
and they can speed up chemical reactions.
So instead of using harsh chemicals, we're using nature's catalysts.
Precisely. It's much gentler and more eco-friendly.
Wow, that's amazing. What else?
Researchers are also constantly searching for greener solvents.
Solvents, like the stuff they use to dissolve things?
Yep. They're finding ones that are less toxic and more environmentally friendly.
Okay, so they're swapping out the nasty stuff for nicer alternatives.
Exactly. And they're also developing more efficient reaction pathway.
Reaction pathways.
Basically, the series of steps involved in a chemical reaction.
Gotcha.
They're finding ways to minimize waste and energy consumption.
So it's like streamlining the whole process to make it greener.
Exactly. It's all about making API development more sustainable.
I am so here for this. Better for patients and better for the planet.
It's a win-win. And you know what else is great about this field?
What's up?
It's incredibly collaborative. You have chemists, engineers, pharmacists, regulatory experts.
Wow, it's like a whole team of superheroes.
Haha, that's a good way to put it. We're all working together to find the best solutions.
I love that. It's not just about individual brilliance, it's about teamwork and collaboration.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, we're all driven by the same goal.
Which is?
To create safe and effective medicines that can improve people's lives.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it. Behind every pill we take, there's this whole world of science and dedication.
There really is. It's easy to forget about all the work that goes into it.
I know. I'm definitely guilty of that.
But it's important to remember that behind every medication,
Yeah,
there are so many brilliant minds working tirelessly to make it happen.
that's so true. It's not just about the science, it's about the human element, too.
Exactly. We're always thinking about the patients who will benefit from these treatments.
That's what makes it so meaningful, right? Knowing that you're helping people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's what drives us to strive for excellence in everything we do.
Well, I have to say, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive into the world of API development.
I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's a field I'm very passionate about.
And it shows. You've given us such a fascinating glimpse into this behind-the-scenes world.
My pleasure. There's still so much more to explore, but I think we've covered some of the key points.
We really have. It's clear that this field is constantly evolving with so much innovation happening.
Oh, absolutely. It's an exciting time to be involved in API process development.
I can imagine. With all these advancements, the future of medicine seems pretty bright.
It definitely does. We're pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And who knows what amazing breakthroughs lie ahead.
That's the beauty of science, right? There's always something new to discover.
Exactly. And that spirit of discovery is what keeps us going. We're constantly searching for new ways to improve human health.
It's an incredible journey to be a part of.
It truly is. It makes you appreciate the incredible journey that a medicine takes.
From the lab to the pharmacy shelf.
It's a journey filled with challenges and triumphs, but it's all driven by this desire to make a difference.
That's beautiful. And on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, it really does feel like with all this incredible stuff happening in API development, we're on the verge of something really big.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're just scratching the surface of what's possible.
It makes you wonder, like, what does all this mean for the future of drug discovery, especially with all the talk about personalized medicine?
That's the big question, isn't it? And it's where things get really exciting. The more we move toward personalized medicine, the more important API process development becomes.
So.
Well, think about it. If we're creating treatments tailored to individuals.
Right, not just one size fits all.
Exactly. We're going to need to be able to manufacture much smaller, more targeted batches of drugs.
Oh, I see. So instead of these huge factories churning out millions of the same pill.
Right. We might see smaller, more specialized facilities creating custom-made medications.
Wow, that's mind-blowing. It's like the ultimate in healthcare customization.
It is. And it's a huge challenge for API development, but also an incredible opportunity.
It really feels like we're on the cusp of a revolution in how we approach medicine.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And API process development is going to be at the forefront of that revolution.
Well, this has been an absolutely incredible deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about the world behind our medicine cabinets.
It's a hidden world, but a vitally important one.
It really is. I have a whole new appreciation for the level of scientific precision and dedication that goes into creating the treatments we rely on.
It's a true testament to the power of science and human ingenuity.
Absolutely. A huge thanks to you for taking us on this amazing journey through the world of API development.
It was my pleasure. Always happy to share my passion for this field.
And to everyone listening out there, thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have.
Keep those curious minds engaged, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Until then, stay curious.